this is the April 13th, 2023 Planning Board Public Hearing, calling it to order. I will do a roll call in the absence of the secretary. Vice Chair Finnerty.
Present.
Glorienberg, Secretary, absent. Craig Candelato.
Present.
George Mutu, absent. Tom Neely.
Present.
Kate Fulham.
Present.
Chair is present. And we have a quorum. Can you please join in for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just some safety precautions in case of an emergency. There are 2 doors going out from this room, and you can take the either staircase down and out the front door. But we don't expect an emergency. So, number 1, do we have proper notice, Christine, Council? Okay. That's Dean Van Tassel, public hearing.
We do, and Jim Hume, who represents the applicant, is on Zoom.
On Zoom, okay. And let's read this into the record. And
Please.
that is Kate, yeah.
Okay. Please take notice that in accordance with the local law number 417 of 2022, a public hearing will be held by the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, April 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at Town Hall 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, and via video conferencing to consider the pre-application entitled Dean Van Tassel. The application considers action on a 60,031 square foot total project area for a 2-lot subdivision, which is currently improved with a single-family, 1-story residence with detached cabana, and is located within the R40 zoning district, the WQI high priority area, and within a New York State archaeologically sensitive area, and situate at 143 South Road, West Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-376-1-29.
Thank you. Who is representing this? Oh, there you are.
Yes.
Sorry, Jim. I'm looking for you in the audience. There you are.
Jim Hume for the applicant, Kelly and Hume, 323 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach. Here on behalf of Mr. Van Tassel. He and his family have owned the property located at 143 South Road for a number of years. It is a 60,000 square foot lot in the R40, which he's seeking to divide into 2 lots, each of which is approximately 30,000 square feet. Obviously, this needs
Any staff here?
a variance, and we were in front of the variance, in front of the zoning board a while back, and I think they're set to render a decision on the variance application on May 4th. It was originally on for tonight, for the 6th, but for some reason it was put over. But in any event, the basis there was based on the lot sizes in the neighborhood, and as well as a 2015 variance that was granted to 42 Apocopok Point Road, which is just around the corner, which I think just received planning board approval for a very similar subdivision. If I can share my screen, I can show you some of that. Okay, so I think what you're seeing is from the GIS. It's a subdivision map of the general area. This right here, where the pointer is where where our lot is, and the other lot that got the same relief and the same planning board approval is this lot down here. So that's that. Oh, no, need that. This is actually the approved subdivision lot on the Apocopok Point Road. And if I bring up our map, you can see the lot sizes are very similar, and a very similar configuration. So that's basically the application.
That is pretty straightforward. Any questions on the board?
Jim, did you say you needed relief, or is it conforming?
No, we needed relief from the zoning board.
For lot
For?
area?
for lot area and, lot area, yes.
So it's R60 zone, right?
That's
now?
our-
It's
R40.
R40.
R40, and they've only
R40.
got 60,000.
Oh,
And
they
we only have
only
60,000
square
Right.
foot. Okay.
Okay.
And the hearing in front of the zoning board is closed, they just haven't rendered a decision, but it was a very positive discussion, I think.
We did do a ZBA report on this? I don't think we did.
No, not yet.
Back to those days again.
I know. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this application? There aren't any hands up. Oh, yes?
Just a general comment.
Well,
You
can
don't need a
you
podium.
can come to the podium, please?
Steve.
And give us your
My
name.
name is Amy Paradise. I've watched this for years. When are we going to stop chopping things up? The zoning was set years ago in that area to protect the water and the land. And we keep chopping it up and they're going to sell it and build another house on it. Where does it stop?
Right.
Okay, that's 30,000 instead of 40,000, and then they'll come and you chop it in half again, and you keep doing this.
Well, the
Isn't
zone,
it smart? Yes, I know. They'll threaten you with lawsuits because you did it here, now you have to do it there.
the
You got
the
rules.
the zoning, it's before the zoning board for that.
I know.
We can't make
Did
that
you speak
relief.
at the zoning board of appeals?
Did you?
Why is it before planning and zoning?
Because the zoning board of appeals is for a variance. In other words, it doesn't comply with the code, so you go for relief. And once that's done, then we can make a plan. But we don't have any authority, that's a quasi judicial board.
So you can't make a plan right now because it hasn't been approved. And they've
Zoning
The
closed-
the zoning
Yeah.
board hasn't issued a declaration about this.
They
In other words,
probably will.
yeah. Thank you, Amy. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Jim,
Zoom?
anyone else on Zoom?
No.
Okay, hearing that, we'll entertain a motion for a 10-day written comment period. Motion by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, good night all.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, the second is Pasanelli Management, and we have notice,
We do,
Kristen?
ma'am.
Great.
Okay.
And Dennis, you want to read in?
Please take notice that in accordance with local law 417 of 2022, a public hearing will be held by the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, April 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at Town Hall, 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, and via video conferencing to consider the site plan application entitled Pasanelli Management. The application is for a request to modify the approved site located within the R40 zoning district at 149 Old Country Road and 149 Jagger Path, Spionk, Remsenburg, tax map number 900-353-1-37.1, 37.2, and 37.3.
Thank you. Are you representing yourself on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just come on up to the podium.
Jeff, do you have anything to put up on the screen on this? Or dark?
So this was an approved application, and you came back and requested a modification of the covenant primarily for the buffers.
Right, to be able to.
So give us a little background.
Okay, so the property, we would like the property to revert back to where it was if we no longer use it in agricultural use. And that was really the document that we wanted to add, or the line that we wanted to add into the restricted covenant. And I think our attorney and you have worked out the language.
We did, and what we decided to do is in light, we worked with Planning Clerche, in light of the way the approval was structured, it just required us to really just make the approval more clear. So we would just go, it should have gone in and did one, it was amended approval. So the language of the approval itself will be amended to include a sunsetting provision such that when it ceases to be operated in the agricultural use, the buffers that the board required will then cease to exist, and then they start with just the underlying.
Start all over, yeah.
Start all
Right.
over.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty clear to us. Yep,
Right, that was-
we
that was the
discussed
whole
it,
purpose.
right? Does anyone wish to speak to this application?
Other than that, there was no material changes from the...
No, you have to come up to the podium if you wish to speak.
We can all hear you, but it's for the
The
recording.
recording equipment.
Can you go to the last seat?
Sure.
I'll just use the podium.
Yeah, go to the podium and the mic.
No, I just had one question other
Yeah,
than
go ahead, just
what
give us your
they
name
mentioned.
first. Give us your name.
Oh,
We have to
sorry.
have a record of this.
My name is John Capabianco. I live at 27 Hickory Bend in Spionk. Other than what we just heard, was there any other material changes to the plans?
No,
No.
that was it. No,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom, Charles?
No, I think we have
Another
somebody else,
gentleman
Don
wants to speak.
Oh,
Larson.
we have another speaker, okay.
My name is Don Larson. I live at 147C Old Country Road. I abut the subject property. I really was coming in today just to find out what the request was, because my notice was just for a modification. It wasn't very clear to me what that modification was. Now that I see what the modification is, I've talked to Christine and understand that request for modification. What exactly does that mean in terms of sunsetting use? Do I get notified if it's gonna just, it goes away on its
If
own?
they're going to do anything on the property that would, like a subdivision or something, another use that would require a site plan, they have to come back in to us. So if
Okay.
they're gonna do anything other than what the underlying zoning is, they would come back into us. Or if they're gonna do anything that would require a variance, they'll be before the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
Then you would
Thank
get
you.
noticed. You would
Yeah,
get
you'll
noticed.
get
at that time.
re-noticed.
Okay, thank you very much. I support their request before the board. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom, Charles? No. Okay. So it's 10-day, so I'll entertain a 10-day written comment period.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank
it-
you.
One more question.
You have to come up.
Okay. As this has gone on, we're going to lose the season again, and is there any way we can get the farmer to get on the property so he can just clear the land and they get it ready to be planted this season? He's only put a cover crop in.
Did you also, did you already submit your covenants and stuff for approvals? Because I don't know if that part was done. Why don't you have Greg call me on Monday, your attorney, and we'll get that, because as soon as we can get all that finalized, the board can have a resolution on at their next meeting.
Okay, so we need to submit the revised language,
Exactly.
and at that point, we can move forward, or we need to go back to
We would
court?
want the board to give you the approval, but, you know, you'll be
Okay.
on your way. You might as well get that stuff going while you're waiting.
Okay, so the language, you want Greg to give you a call, and we're going to finalize?
On Monday.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Number 3, 200 North McGee Street is off the
The
agenda.
agenda.
There was a
Notice.
noticing issue, so we'll move right on to number 4, Hampton 6 Realty Corp. And Craig, you're going to read that?
Please take notice that in accordance with local law number 417 of 2022, a public hearing will be held by the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, April 13th, 2023, at 6 p.m. at Town Hall, 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, and via video conferencing to consider the site plan entitled Hampton 6 Realty. The application proposed to expand an existing market to 12,500 square feet within an existing building containing a mix of commercial uses and associated parking on a 1.530 acre property situated in the Village Business Zoning District located at 39 West Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-224-1-21.1.
Welcome. You have your name, please?
Aurelia Taveras, I'm the representative for the owner, Mark Nunez and Marty Taveras, for a community supermarket located at 39 West Montauk Highway. The application was commenced by Jack Martins from Harris Beach. I'm just finishing it off for the
Okay.
applicant.
So tell us just a little bit about the, what you plan to do there at the market.
Sure. The supermarket initially started at 2,500 square feet as a little deli, and as the population has changed and the needs of the community have changed, he continued to grow the space. It went to 500. Now we're asking for a bigger space to accommodate. The owner purchased Liggett's, and so the pharmacy is gone. And in that space, he proposes to put a juice bar, rotisserie chicken, kind of a little bit more takeout because people seem to want to run in and out and go to the beach and take some food with them. And they have a section on food that's a little small, and it seems to be a hit in the area, so there's also food available in the supermarket as well. And it is a supermarket primarily.
And all the parking complies, I think,
Yes.
because we looked at this. Okay, any questions?
We're not
on
going to
the
have a
board?
security guard
No.
directing
no.
traffic.
We'd have signs to be mindful to your neighbors. And,
Right.
you know, please.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone would like to speak? Okay. Yes, please come up.
Gail. Hi, I'm Gail Lombardi, and just so that you know, I'm legally blind, so I just get a little confused in my notes and my documents, so if you could give me a little leeway here. I'm supportive of the expansion, but I'm not supportive of the review of that expansion. I have two things I'd like to distribute to the board, so I don't know who I'd give it to.
I can help.
Okay, thank you so much. So, I want to talk a little bit more. I've had my 15 minutes of fame, as they say. I'm Lombardi v. Town of Southampton, and I prevailed in the Supreme Court against the Town of Southampton and nullify the Downtown Overlay District. And the two main things that and so what I've handed out to you is the decision of the Supreme Court, as well as excerpts from our Hampton Bays Water District 10-year master plan. So, and if you could give me a little latitude, because again, I do support the supermarket's expansion because from what I understand, they're very popular in our community, but I'm looking to the board to make sure that it's good for everyone in our community and it really is reviewed in accordance with SECRA. So the Supreme Court had two main issues in that the HPDOD was part of the Corridor Strategic Plan, and with that it said that the town illegally segmented the review of the village zoning and compared to the Corridor Strategic Plan. And you all have many, many commercial developments along the corridor, the Montauk Highway corridor, before this board in all different levels. And I'm sorry, I'm a little late to the party. I was a little busy in the Supreme Court. To a lot of these, they've been in play for a long time. You have CVS, you have the laundromat, you have a building by Sinclair Fuel, you have the barn by McDonald's. You have a tremendous amount of activity going on, and I feel like you are segmenting the environmental review for each one of these. And it's problematic for the Montauk Highway corridor for Hampton Bays. So that's the first thing the Supreme Court said. The second thing the Supreme Court said, I'm not an attorney, as Christine Scalera knows well. I am not an attorney. I'm not a secret expert. I'm an accountant. But I spent my time, I did my homework, because I'm concerned about Hampton Bays overall. And I want to support the local businesses. My partner and I probably put a couple of kids through college over the 20 years we've lived here. So the other thing is our water supply. I don't know, I gave you a few pages of a 251-page report of the Hampton Bays Water District 10-year master plan that's costing us $30 million to even bring up to speed. So I'm a little latitude, I'm talking about the laundromat here. You approved the laundromat for what, 50 washing machines, something like that? I think it's already approved, the site plan's already approved. I'm not sure if that comes from Wellfield 1 or Wellfield 2. Wellfield 1 is contaminated with PFAS. What I've given you, it's showing increasing chlorine in the water testing over the years. So are we depleting our aquifer now? Are we in the situation where we now have aquifer saltwater intrusion? We don't know. They never finished, the town board never finished the study. And so I don't know if the laundromat comes from Wellfield 2, which is on Old Riverhead Road. And on Riverhead Road, the people by Edgewater, they had no water for years. They couldn't flush toilets in the summer. So again, it's where you're approving these, all of these. So specific to this one, I noticed that they indicated they're a type 1 secret in their application. Again, late to the party, I don't know what kind of EAF was prepared, and it was determined what kind of environmental review needs to be done. Again, I apologize. I've been a little busy. I know that this has been in play for a long time. And they're asking for a waiver on the parking requirements. So the site plan cuts into the post office. So, you know, okay, well, you're solving one problem, but are you creating another problem now? Someday, you know, in the future, textbooks say, you know, oh, we need less parking. Well, when we're all, you know, in flying cars, maybe that'll happen. But until then, we're in cars in Hampton Bays. We had a trolley a couple of years back. Nobody used it. We're in cars in Hampton Bays. You're going to have somebody drive to Hampton Bays, then maybe want to go to the deli. They're not going to find a spot. They'll go to West Hampton. They're not going to go home and get their bicycle. They're going to not shop in Hampton Bays. You allowed a waiver for the parking for the laundromat. The parking got taken away, was it 15 spots? It got taken away by Public Service Electric and Gas just down the road, just east of this. We have a problem. And it's not up to the applicant to solve, well, it is to some degree. You know, like, again, I support this business. It's allegedly, I haven't been there because of my vision loss. It's hard for me to go into new places, but I hear it's fabulous. So it's up to the town and you all to solve our parking problem, and not by taking away spots in the post office, which is full. The town moved their facilities to the King Cullen Shopping Center, and since they moved their facilities, people in the senior center with walkers can't get to the senior center because they're parking all the way by the King Cullen. We have a very popular aquatic therapy center now in King Cullen, which is taking up a lot of spots. The little store that was a vitamin store in King Cullen left. They had a big sign up, we're going someplace where there's parking. So you may be helping one, and you're gonna hurt a lot of others by allowing to cut through the post office. So you really have to think long and hard if you're looking at a very segmented approach to solving Hampton-based problems, because it doesn't solve Hampton-based problems. And it's not up to the applicant, with all due respect, again, it's not up to the applicant. It's up to this board and the town board to come to these solutions.
Good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, please come to the podium.
My name is Gail Shepard. I live in Hampton Bays. I've been a Hampton Bays resident for the last 23 years. This application should be denied right off. If you look at it, they want to put a driveway into the Chase driveway that exits their parking lot. That driveway is a driveway. It is not a two-way street. It is an exit, purely an exit to get out of the back parking lot of Chase Manhattan Bank. The other thing they want to do is go into the post office, which was just addressed by Gail. The post office is already overcrowded in parking spaces. We have the UPS there. We have other businesses that have direct doors to that parking lot. We have the town taking over the senior citizen area across the street that also encompasses the
Code enforcement.
Code enforcement, thank you very much. There's no room. The parking lot for King Cullen is already unsafe, and that's only there 21 years. But the amount of people using it, between a real estate office, a Verizon office, a pizza place, a wine place, the Starbucks and King Cullen, and now a health facility for rehabilitation, as well as the town offices and the senior citizen, which is directly across from the post office. So if you want to go to any of these places, you often have to park at the post office. So these people want to expand, there's no place to park. So the town has to do something to eliminate the parking. That parking lot is, in fact, I went to no less than 100 people today, and 80 people didn't even know what I was talking about. But when I told them that they wanted to go into the post office parking lot from what the Krieg's Bakery was, I thought that they were all going to melt down and say it's unsafe to drive in there as it is. Never mind putting in more parking. So this should be absolutely taken off the board, and something should be done. If they want to expand, fine. Have people get their bikes, but there's not any more room for one more car. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
This gal.
Hi there, Amy Paradise. I'm sorry you're getting smacked. The funny thing is that years ago, that entire building was a grocery store. I'll bet people have forgotten that.
I remember.
But it's gotten chopped up. And you now have Krieg's, a secondhand dress shop, a bicycle shop, and a laundry facility in the back of it. You've got Scotto's right next to it. You've got Guava across the street. And people park in that parking lot and use all of those businesses. So if you own the parking lot, then you maybe have to start towing cars that aren't using your businesses. But everybody else is right. We have a huge parking problem. And connecting those parking lots, normally I think that's a great idea. A lot of places, they
shared
planned it
part,
out,
yeah.
they put a whole thing along the back.
Cross-access.
But again, you haven't got space at the back there to do that. You'll be driving across the parking dock.
The train station is back
No,
there.
no, no, the dock for the store,
Oh.
the delivery dock for
Loading
the
dock.
store. You'll be driving in front of that all the time. You really haven't much space back there. Something has changed phenomenally. I think it's amazing that you've grown a business despite the pandemic. Wow. But what the heck are we going to do with the parking? I go there all the time. I go to Krieg's. Who can resist their donuts? But it's true that driving around in there is kind of a nightmare, and your access in it on the one side is very short and tight, and very little space there in the front.
Yeah.
I don't know how it functioned. Maybe they've changed parking requirements or something. But it really, if there were any place in town that they needed to just like rebuild the whole thing and put a parking garage on the bottom, that's the place to do it.
Yeah.
They're all correct about that parking in the post office. It's always full.
Yeah.
I don't know about the bank, but you can't just willy-nilly say, I'm going to run into your parking lot without their permission unless the same
Yeah.
people own the parking lot. The Chase
Yeah.
Bank property?
Yeah, well, we hear you. I mean, there's a
So,
parking
I'm-
issue everywhere.
Let me ask you
Everywhere.
a question, because you know Good Ground Road, I know Good Ground Road.
Yeah.
Cars exiting this site, waiting for traffic to open up, coming out of this driveway on Good Ground, and another car is 20 feet away at the post office, waiting for his turn, and the post office car is going right, and the Krieg's car is going left, and there's a break in the traffic. Tell me what happens.
Well, accidents.
Accidents is what happens.
A lot of times, instead of going left, I just go right and go over the railroad tracks and
Go
go home a
around.
different way.
It would be
And
nice to combine those
You
two
can do
accesses,
that,
wouldn't it?
but you're going to lose parking spaces when you do that. I don't know how you do that.
The post office parking.
Well, it's for us to
That's
That's
figure out.
up to you.
But
That's
where,
for you
I've
guys
seen
to
it.
figure out. But
but where,
and
where-
making a
where-
left turn there, it's dangerous anyway
It is.
because you got that whole
It is.
wide thing. You really shouldn't be making left turns
You shouldn't
there.
be, but they do.
Oh, but they,
Okay.
yeah,
And
they
they do
do.
at the same time as the post office. I've seen it.
Thank you, Amy.
I don't know whether there's a record there of accidents. I don't keep.
We're
track
going
of
to pull
that.
the record.
But we'll get a traffic
We'll get it.
analysis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone on Zoom?
No.
Okay, would you like to say some words?
Hi, Aurelia Tavares once again. I want to commend the board for being so thoughtful about this lot. And we understand the parking concerns. The parking lot is being reconfigured to better fit the cars. And there's also, and then we have two ways of, Chase is empty from about 4 o'clock or 5, empty the rest of the evening. That's our high time, so that's a great place to put parking spaces and to give us more room. And the owner loses here too a little bit because he's giving back so that he can be able to function in this location, because it's not fun for anyone, the traffic. We've been very mindful about a traffic study. We looked at how it would affect it, and effectively letting them go through the Chase Bank, and when the post office is not full all hours, and our busiest hours is when the post office is closed in the evening, and for people coming from work and the LIRR. So it was very thoughtful to do the cross-access. I think that it's going to help. I think it's going to help the applicant too, because he's going to have more room to be able to service this area, because it has grown substantially. And we'll work with whatever you need to accommodate this and make it safe and passable. So.
Okay, thank you. So, any more questions on the board? I'll entertain a 10-day written comment period.
Motion.
Motion by Craig, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you very much for your comments. Moving on to Homeland Towers, Flanders. Do we have notice, Christine?
We do, Madam Chair.
Great. You want to read, Tom, into the record? Yeah.
Please take notice that in accordance with local law number 417 of 2022, a public hearing will be held by the Southampton Town Planning Board on Thursday, April 13th, 2023, at 6 p.m. at Town Hall, 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, and via video conferencing to consider the pre-submission application entitled Homeland Towers, Flanders. The subject site plan/special exception application proposes the construction of a 150-foot tall monopole with exterior antennas with associated equipment, parentheses, 2 alternatives, 155-foot monopole camouflaged as a tree, or 150-foot lattice tower, end parentheses, on a 6.7-acre parcel which contains a junkyard located in the CR60 zoning district, Central Pine Barrens Core Preservation Area, and Aquifer Protection Overlay District, situated at 2055 Flanders Road, Flanders, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-170-1-41.1.
Thank you. Jeff, can you get the, can you zoom in on that, to this site?
Oh, it's in the junkyard.
It's the junkyard. Yes, that's
There it
it.
is.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So please state your name for the record and tell us about this application.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Robert Gaudioso with the law firm of Snyder & Snyder on behalf of Homeland Towers. I'm joined by Mr. Ray Vigatti, who will say a few words in a moment, also from Homeland Towers. This is a proposal for a wireless telecommunications facility to remedy a gap along Flanders Road, also known as Route 24. We did propose various different alternative designs for the tower. One thing that wasn't mentioned was also the flagless flagpole that I know this board has preferred in other applications, such as the one we did a few years back in Watermill. The property is surrounded by numerous parks, including Hubbard County Park and Maple Swamp County Park. It's also in the core preservation area, so we do need approval from the Pine Barrens Commission. And what I think what Ray will show you is the reason why this particular lot, being the junkyard, is we believe the least intrusive location in this area, given the surrounding parks, given the area of the residential zones, given the distance from this area of the existing wireless facilities at both the fire department and the police station to the west and to the east, respectively. So with that, Mr. Vigatti has a couple maps that he'd like to hand up, if that's okay with you, Madam
Sure.
Chair, and say a few words to try and orient you of why we landed at this particular location.
Thanks. If you want, I can pass them down.
Just hand them to us, we'll pass them down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Same thing, though.
Is this the same?
Few extras, yeah.
Same.
The same.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Raymond Vergati. I'm the real estate manager for Homeland Towers. Homeland is a tower developer out of Danbury, Connecticut. We simply build the infrastructure for the carriers such as Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, Dish, and so forth. In addition, we make the towers available for public safety. I've been doing this for 22 years. Seen a lot in my time with applications. No site is easy. We have an issue here, not we as far as Holman, but the carriers. This is a no man's land. We have, as Rob said, 2 bookend sites. We have an existing tower at Firehouse Lane at the fire department. We have the next site further out at the police headquarters for Southampton on Old River Road. The distance in between is 4.58 miles. That's a long stretch. We can't bend the laws of physics. The carriers can't bend the laws of physics. These sites have to operate where they overlay each other, where you're traveling through a cell and it's contiguous, where you don't have a drop call. As you can see from the map that's before you, in front of you, we're up against state parks, as Rob alluded to, Hubbard, Maple Swamp, Sears Bellows. It's all county. In addition, we recognize we're in the Pine Barrens in the core preservation area. Do I wish I had the magical site in the middle? Absolutely, but we don't have that luxury. So we've pushed the envelope, pushing it as far over from the fire department existing site to try to cover this gap along Flanders Road, Route 24. In my 22 years of doing this, I usually go into zoning with 1 carrier, typically Verizon or AT&T. This is a unique situation where all 3 carriers are on board with this. They have a need, and if we get further during the process, they'll have to demonstrate the need to you folks, obviously, through coverage maps and drive tests and the whole litmus test that you want them to do, obviously. As Rob mentioned, we were last before the board, 1054 Montauk Highway. Homeland Towers did the 100-foot flagless flagpole behind the furniture store there, which I believe is now vacant. Would just like to remind the board that, you know, this is no longer a luxury. People rely on these cell phones for public safety. We have parks, we have hikers, there's emergency issues that go on all the time. There's car accidents. These cell phones have become lifelines. We think we can improve the property, and we don't need to get into many details tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions. But I will say that the landlord has agreed. It's a junkyard. We're not going to try to sugarcoat it. It's a junkyard. And it's got some views from the road, which I think are kind of not the greatest. He's going to allow us, if this goes forward, to offer screening. And, you know, we would look toward the board for your input. But we have the ability to offer very strong landscape screening along the whole front of Route 24 to screen this property, because right now there is line of sight into the property and so forth. Just a quick overture of the project itself. We're proposing a 50 by 60 leased fenced compound area. The best way to describe it is when you come into the driveway, you turn right, traveling east, and you turn right into the driveway. It would be about 150 feet in to the left-hand side. His junkyard has junk on it every square inch. We cannot go anywhere else on this property. We have to be in that front left corner, and we can discuss that further with the board, obviously. But we're proposing a structure, 150-foot monopole or a monopine, or a flagless flagpole. We give the board 3 options. And we would also, as we did in Watermill, we would present photo simulations at some point to the board so we can understand, or you can understand what we're looking at from a visual perspective. The property is basically 6.59 acres. It's zoned as a CR 60. The carriers right now are Dish, Verizon, and AT&T that have a need. Their equipment would go at the base of the tower. It would be fenced and screened. We can get into fencing options, chain link, privacy slats, wood stockade details, and so forth, but I think that would be more appropriate down the road to discuss details if this application were to proceed forward, obviously. Happy to entertain any questions at this point that the board may have.
You've reviewed the town's master plan in terms of wireless facilities?
Correct.
Okay.
We have.
Okay.
We've seen your criteria. Obviously, locating on existing infrastructure, be it towers, power lines, rooftops. There are no structures in this area for these carriers where they are trying to provide coverage. Your preference is to work with public lands, municipal lands. There's nothing available. It's county property. It's state park property. We've reached out to the state. We haven't heard anything back, obviously. The town of Southampton has no property in between the stretch. The closest property further out toward the police station is a water tank. It's, I believe, 4 miles away. Does not work for the carriers. The next raw land property that the town of Southampton has is just before the junkyard, traveling out toward the tip of Long Island on the right-hand side. It's a very narrow swath. It's 150 feet in width, and it abuts 3 residential houses. So we feel this is the best location, has the least environmental and visual impact, and we'll certainly, look forward to presenting this in further detail to the board.
Well, I mean, I mentioned the master plan because it violates so many aspects of it, including the height at 155 feet. I don't think we've approved a tower that size recently. Secondly, you don't comply with the fall zone at all with 155 feet. And thirdly, you're in the Pine Barrens core, not the Pine Barrens compatible, but the Pine Barrens core. And this junkyard is in the Pine Barrens core, and from an environmental standpoint, it is a disaster. So, I mean, I can hear what you're saying, but I'm also saying to you that as a planning board, we're going to be looking at these issues, and they don't sit well.
Understand, Madam Chair?
I want to touch on the Pine Barrens, because I think that's an important point. And
Very.
As I said,
You gotta move over.
I'm sorry. We will be submitting a number of documents. We'll submit, obviously, the coverage maps to show where the area of need is. We'll also submit visual analysis like we've done in the past. And one of the things we'll do is we'll compare some of these things to the surrounding area. So when you look at the core preservation area, it basically extends on the south side of Flanders Road, east and west, for as far as the eye can see, really all the way through the gap. On the north side, it basically cuts off just west of our site where basically the residential development is. So if we head in that direction towards the Big Duck, that's where all the residences are. So while, as Ray said, we acknowledge it's a junkyard. It wouldn't normally be our first choice. But because it is existing and because we think we could actually improve the property, and because it is distant from the area that's not core, but strictly residential, we think it's the better of the two alternatives. And understanding that we've already met with the Pine Barrens Commission, we've already got their jurisdictional determination, we understand we have to go through their process to be able to get permission even from them as well as this planning board. So we absolutely understand the challenges, and we understand the challenges is to explain to you, while we understand your code, we understand the alternatives, and to explain to you why we chose this location. And look, if there's a better location that works, we're always willing to consider that and investigate it and provide further input and discussion on that. So, Madam Chair, we completely understand the code, the comprehensive plan, the maps, the criteria, the opportunity zones, the restricted zones, and we will be submitting full special permit and site plan applications that address all of those issues.
Okay. Any other questions from this board? Thank you. Any someone for the, okay, we have someone. Just come on up.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the rest of the board. My name is Angela Yanault, and I am now the current president of Franca Flanders Riverside Northampton Community Association. We discussed this last night, and everything you brought up, Madam, is what our concerns are. The height, God forbid it falls. Where was it going? Was it going into the back? Was it going towards the back, closer to the Pine Barrens? Was it going to be up front? I mean, everything really did get answered. We feel what you expressed is exactly how we feel. Yeah. Going closer to the duck? No, not that one either. The other thing is, as a Flanders resident for over 40 years, I have yet to have, I have AT&T, have been with AT&T since cell phones have existed. I have yet to experience a drop call on my way on Flanders Road, and I come here often. I go to the beach. I have yet to experience that drop call situation.
Good to know.
Yes. And we're, right now, Franca stands that we're not in agreement for this
Okay.
pole to go up.
Send us a letter, put it in
Oh,
writing.
we are, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Is there anybody on Zoom, Charles?
No.
Nope. Okay, so this is a 30-day, yeah. So I'll entertain, it's a pre-submission, right?
Yes.
Pre-submission, 30 days. Entertain a motion to close. Motion by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Motion to adjourn. Motion by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. We are adjourned.